Good evening and welcome to the AI Clinic with Dr. Kim, the AI Doctor. This is our twice monthly forum where we discuss artificial intelligence news, talk about how it can better your business, and we also occasionally have a training. And in our last broadcast, we did a Claude for Small Business training. If you did not get a chance to see it, you can find it on our YouTube channel. It's tonight's agenda because we have a lot to talk about. Yeah, I'm just going to jump right into it. So here's the thread that I want you to hold on to for tonight. And I don't have any slides tonight, so this is truly a conversation for all of us. And this is what I want you to hold on to because it ties every single thing tonight that we're going to cover. It ties everything together. So tonight is about control. And it's about control. It's about who has control over your data. And we all know that artificial intelligence is basically data. Who has it over the tools that you are basically being pushed towards? There's a lot of control issues these days, and what you can actually do as a person who is running a business. So we're going to talk about spy cars, your car spying on you. We're going to talk about a trillion-dollar company named Anthropic. We're going to talk about the Pope and what the Pope even had to say about artificial intelligence. Then I'll take you into the schedule for June. We have a really robust schedule of trainings for June. And then the final part of tonight, we're going to take a deep look into two tools that a lot of you guys have been talking about, you've been asking me about, and that is Hermes and also OpenClaw. And I know I promised you guys months ago that I was going to bring you an OpenClaw class, and I hesitated on it and I kept hesitating. And I told you the reason was because I had not found a really secure way of deploying it in a way that was good for non-techies. And we need to make this as easy as possible. So I did find a way to make it easy to deploy for non-techies. You don't have to purchase any additional equipment and all of that. So it makes it so much easier to deploy OpenClaw. So I'm going to check. Let's see. We got, all right, Degundria, thank you so much. I appreciate you for subscribing to the YouTube channel. So let's start with spy cars. Did you know your cars are spying on you? And if they are not now, they will be in the year 2027. So picture it, Sicily,
Yes,
1954.
I knew.
Oh, yeah. And it's about to get worse. So picture it, basically 2027. You get in your car, and before you can pull out of the driveway, your car has basically scanned you, already formed an opinion about you. Are your eyes a little bit droopy? You could be sleepy. Is your head tilting? Are you walking a little weird? Did you have a glass of wine at dinner? Our cars are starting to watch us. And the cars also are starting to have quote unquote thoughts. So here's what's actually happening because there's been a lot of gloom and doom and fear mongering that's going on the internet, and it's irresponsible. But there's a federal law that came out in 2021. It was the 2021 infrastructure bill, and it directs the Safety Administration, which is the A, to required impaired driving prevention technology in all new passenger vehicles. And it's supposed to go into effect in 2027. So the proposal was for things like passive breath sensors. Do you smell like you have alcohol in your breath? Infrared cameras that track your eye movement, maybe head position, your pupil dilation, all sorts of stuff like that. And if your car decides that you're impaired, it can stop you from starting the car. Or it can do what they call drop into something called a limp mode. I've never heard of that before, but they call it a limp mode, and it slows down the car and pulls you over. Now, this is all artificial intelligence driven, obviously, with also these other sensors that are in the car. So this is what the viral videos are leaving out, the ones that are trying to scare the bejesus out of everybody. The technology is not 100% ready yet. Even the NHTSA has said that the technology is not 100% ready yet. So full rollout, we probably won't see it in 2027. We might see it in 2028. Some people think that the government is already watching us drive right now. We do know, however, that artificial intelligence is actively involved in our cars because if you own a late model car, you know that lane assist thing that you got that keeps you from drifting out of your lane and brings you back, or it gives that vibrating thing on the steering wheel. What do you think that's artificial intelligence basically in your car? So, why does this belong in the AI clinic? Because this is artificial intelligence, and it's the same kind of pattern that you're going to be seeing everywhere. A device or an app collecting data, seemingly passively. It makes a judgment about you with the model, and then it takes action without asking. And your car right now, or at least proposed actions on your car, is just the latest thing to fall into that. So I want you guys to be vigilant. I want you to be careful. Keep your eyes open, keep your ears open. If you grab your manual, especially if you have a late model car, like the last 3 years or so, go grab your car manual or look it up online, and you can actually turn off some of the infotainment and the data sharing controls. I can't tell you how to do it for every car, and we're not even going to try to go into that because there are thousands of models, but it stands to reason. Go, if you have a late model car, last 3 years or so, or even into 2027, find your car manual and look for the infotainment settings, look for data sharing controls. And if you can't find it there, then you can usually go online to the manufacturer's website and you can find out how to turn off these data sharing controls. Because the other thing that we're not addressing is that all of this data that's being collected, you know what's happening to it. You know it's being sold probably to the insurance companies. I'm not saying definitely, I'm saying probably. Because who else is going to want that data besides the insurance companies and the government? So DeGundria over here. Okay, exactly. She says, I always thought the GPS maps were spying on me. The cameras on the road are spying on how you drive and can locate where you're going. That's true, especially in certain types of cities where we have lots and lots of cameras, Atlanta being one of them. I have a 2008, and I wonder if there was a reason they were trying to purchase older cars to get them off the road. I was wondering that too, because at one point you could not find an older model car on the road anywhere. It was like, yeah, you couldn't find them at all. What's happening here? So, good points, very good points. The other thing, this is like our segue, I want you to think about the control issues and the data gathering and the data selling. Ask that same question about every tool that you're using in your business. What kind of data is it collecting? Who is it sending it to? And I'm not trying to sound paranoid, and I'm not trying to make it sound like we're all gloom and doom and all of that wonderfulness, but it is something to not only think about, but it is something to be cognizant of, especially in your business. So that's part one. And I'm curious, what are your thoughts on what I call the spy cars? Lorna says, every time I let my insurance company ask me, let us track your driving and we'll give you a discount. I have absolutely declined quickly. Yeah. Oh, Allison, thank you. Any other thoughts on the spy cars before we move on to our 1 trillion, I'm sorry, $1 trillion company and what's about to happen with a bunch of IPOs?
I thought
Becky
about
says
that when
spy
I
cars
saw it.
can,
I thought about you when I
what
saw
was it?
that.
Go ahead, Olivia.
No, I just said I thought about you when I saw that.
You knew I was going to have an issue with it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Spy cars, I worry about Gemini because of the Google link. Yeah, because so many cars. What cars have Siri already integrated in them? Some have Google already integrated in them. You've got to wonder what else is it looking at other than your GPS or where you're going or your favorite radio station. Kim E says, yes, and now GPS and Google Maps update has a new disclaimer regarding this data collection. Aha, and if you say no, it says that most of it will not work for you. Michelle, one step closer to the movie, The Minority Report. Yeah, you're not lying about that. Lorna says, I will not let anything track or monitor me that I can control. Scott Phillips, we are in the age of trading our freedom and privacy for the sake of convenience and luxury. That is a very good way to put it. Tanya says, I'm a passenger princess Uber. Uber has always been a data collection company. In fact, years ago when Uber was just getting started and I was living in downtown Atlanta, one of the co-founders of Uber lived on the same floor that I did, and we had some great conversations. I also had a stack of Uber cards for free rides that was absolutely ridiculous. That was a long time ago. Michelle, listen to your conversations out loud, text, etc. Unexpected accidents. Yeah, Becky says, my son loves his Tesla and self-driving. I love the concept. I'm a techie. Of course, I love the concept. I love everything that's in the Tesla, but it also scares the hell out of me. What about those driverless cars in major cities? Waymo. Yeah, I've been in a Waymo. I was in a Waymo. In fact, with a couple, wait a minute, are you guys on there? Because there's a couple of you guys who were with me in a Waymo in San Francisco when we were at an AI conference. It was fun because there were four of us, but the night did not end well. I'll tell you that story one of these days when we're done with going over all the things that we're supposed to talk about. All right, so we talked about spy cars. Let's move over into Anthropic. And Anthropic is now a $965 billion company approaching 1 trillion. Anthropic is, of course, the company that's behind Claude. And this is what I think is so funny. If you look at their website, it says they just confidentially filed paperwork with the SEC to go public. It's on their website. How is that possibly confidential? Is it just me? Okay. So right now the valuation is $965 billion by the time they actually do go public, which will probably, if they get the IPO and they get all their ducks in a row, it probably won't happen until October, maybe. The big guys, Goldman
Wait,
Sachs.
Dr. Kim, let me say something. If they try to go in that time, they're going to have problems because that's going into the last Mercury retrograde. They need an astrologer. I wouldn't be trying to go into IP at that time.
You know what? And this is why I love Tanya, because she keeps us honest. There are certain things that you should not be doing during Mercury retrograde, and that would be one of them. I'm just going to sit back and watch. Of course, I will be ready to invest, but Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, they're all chomping at the bit to get their hands on this. And we also know that SpaceX is also going to do an IPO this year. OpenAI is going to be right behind Anthropic. You know, OpenAI is really not happy that Anthropic beat them to the filing, right? So these things, I want you to write down 3 things surrounding all of these IPOs and what's happening and how it's going to affect us as business owners, as people who use artificial intelligence on a regular basis. Number 1, and I told you guys this last year, I told you this at the beginning of this year, and I am now going to reiterate it. Prices for these AI tools are not going to stay where they are. It is time to pay the piper. We have been running on subsidized services since day one. And if you go to my LinkedIn page, I have a carousel on there from a few months ago that talks about that $20 subscription that you're paying really doesn't cost $20. It actually costs about $163. And all the venture capitalists and all of the other investors are the ones who have been paying the freight for us. So it's time. People are now ready to make a profit. So $20 subscriptions are probably going to go away. What's up, Tanya? I see you have your hand up.
Yes, so I saw over here that Terry made a comment about SpaceX. I don't remember the name of the other guy, the Amazon guy. What's the name of his spaceship? Blue something?
Oh, yeah.
Bezos. Right.
Origin.
Well, you know, it blew
Yeah.
up, right? The Blue Origin. It blew up.
I saw it blew to smithereens the other day.
On Friday, which is the same day our friend here said she had a heart experience. So again, I want to show you how the astrology is working there. The blow up really is about the shift of energy that is occurring. All of this space stuff is going to be changing. So I'm going to share with anybody, don't invest in any space stuff. Stick with the AI right now, but the space stuff is not, it's going to slow down. I'm really going to slow down. It's going to slow down. And Allison,
Yeah.
I am astrocartography. I do astrocartography as well.
Oh,
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yes.
I wanted to share
You're
that. 'Cause
welcome.
it's so important that we look at our astrology with this stuff because it really lines up.
It does. It absolutely does. So that was number one. The number one thing I want you to write down, start planning your business around the price that these tools are going to cost, not what they cost now, not the promotional rate that we're getting. So the second thing I want you to write down is consolidation. So when this much capital concentrates into just a few players, the tools that you're expected to use start to narrow. Think about that. Start to narrow. Your clients already assume that you're using these tools, and your competitors are definitely using these tools. So this is definitely not a reason to chase every new release, but it's a time to get deliberate. And we talk about this in MindMeld. It's a time to be very deliberate about which 2 or 3 tools you're actually going to use to run your operation. And you should go, instead of going wide, you should be going deep. Go deep into the functionality of those tools that are seriously fueling and running your business. And the third thing, the opportunity that's hiding underneath all of that money is building infrastructure that you get to rent for the cost of a coffee subscription. So while you're figuring out what your tool stack is, take advantage of that little $20 subscription because it's going away very soon. I won't say very soon. It's going away soon. That's better. So what are your thoughts? You guys, you can unmute or you can drop it in the chat. Your thoughts on not only the tool not only this trillion-dollar company, the different IPOs, and Tanya just told us what we need to be watching out for, but all of these IPOs that are going to start happening. And something else I told you guys at the end of last year, is that we're also going to see a lot of acquisitions. A lot of the larger companies, especially if they have all this money now, they're going to start hoovering up the smaller ones, and we're going to be left with fewer tools to work with.
Dr. Kim, we're all very aware that we are in the age of Aquarius and that we are experiencing one of the greatest financial transfers, but we're also experiencing a shift in consciousness as well. And my take on all of this, and I, again, appreciate you for giving us all, keeping track of all this, because it can be overwhelming to keep up with all of these things. But we don't walk in fear, right? We don't have fear of none of it. And there are powers that are spoken and powers that are unspoken that's controlling all of this. But at the end of the day, I feel that as long as we are diligent and we keep our energy and our vibration as high and positive as we possibly can, I choose not to participate. You know what I mean? Because what we give our energy to, it grows. And I'm a firm believer of that. So being aware as you are giving us this information, but also not feeding into the dragon's fire as well. I'm excited.
Exactly.
Because I know the other side of this is going to be beautiful. And it's going to be good for the entire collective, right? So I just wanted to share that. I'm excited about it. I'm not going to be weary. I'm not going to be walking around fearful. I'm excited because when we are building new houses, as we're building new consciousness, we got to excavate all that old shit that's up under the bottom so we can lay a clean foundation. And that's what's happening.
Clean it out.
It's time to clean this shit up so we can build a better world. So just wanted to pop that one in there for you.
Well, thank you so much, Viola. I appreciate that. I'm going to take there's a couple of comments I'm seeing. Selena says, I hear the Chinese will flood the market with cheaper models and force prices down. That is a definite possibility. DeGundria wants to know, what are the tools should we be deliberately using? That depends on your business. I do not preach a specific stack of tools for everyone. You have to, and we have to basically analyze your business. How does your business run? What does your business do? What kind of workflows do you currently have? Then and only then can we come down and start to recommend tools. Tools is not first in this community. It's more about your workflows. It's about your business practices and your business policies. And then we marry a tool to your business instead of marrying your business to a tool. Let's see. I'm seeing some comments. I thought it was only a matter of time before the consolidation. Absolutely. Yes, and acquisitions. The sharks are circling now. Yes, they are. Oh, yes. Lenore says, I hit the limit so fast on the $20 ones, but I just wait. Yeah, there's a way to not hit your limit so quickly. And and I see people doing this. Every time you have a new thought, don't continue it in the same thread. Start a new thread. And what's happening is that when you have a thread that's already going and you're like, okay, I want to switch to a different thought and do something different. And then you put in that different thought into the chat window, what is happening is that the artificial intelligence model, it's reading through the entire thread. That's what's taking up all of your credits. But if you instead start a brand new chat, pop that new idea in and then run the chat, you will use significantly less tokens than if you just keep the same thread going over and over. So try that one. Tanya says, November may bring lots of financial changes. Katrina says, what about the apps that use AI? Will the subscriptions for these apps be increasing too? Most likely. It's a domino effect. If your supplier raises their prices, then the distributor's got to raise the prices too, which means that once it gets to the grocery store, the prices have to go up even further. Becky says, since Musk wanted OpenAI and Anthropic to stay nonprofit, I want to see how long he'll keep Grok as a freebie. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Who
yeah, that's a
actually
good
uses
one.
Grok, okay. Who actually uses Grok? I'm just really curious.
I'm not even going to say that out loud. Not on a public broadcast. Donna says, I'm thinking about the criteria I should follow to select one GPT as my ongoing tool. Right now, I'm testing 3 with monthly subscriptions with 2 of them. Yeah, you got to examine your business. Donna, if you're in our mastermind, if you're in Mind Meld, I'm sorry, you already have the tools to do all of that analysis. Becky says, I sub to 2. I have another place I pay 97 and haven't really had time to get up to speed on their stuff. Include subscriptions, AI, I think Chat and Claude. So yeah. Scott says, I'm seeing many offerings of tools consolidated into package, and I then offered for a one-time price instead of monthly fees. Have not been able to check them out, but feel they are more of a temptation than a solution. Yeah, I've seen that so for graphics, this actually does work very well. But for chatbots or chat AI, it does not necessarily. I have seen, and Olivia, I'll give to you in just a second. I see sometimes where you don't have the full functionality of the tool when you're going through a third party. Not saying that happens all the time, but it has been my experience, but I have not tried all of them. So let me be transparent about that. Miss Olivia, you had your hand up.
Yeah, but you may have forgotten it by now. I was going to ask you to repeat what you said, marry your tool to something.
Oh, you should always marry the tool to your business. Never marry your business to the tool. That is okay, Donna. So yeah, you have the tools to do the analysis on your business, Donna. So what I mean when I say marry the tool to your business and not your business to the tool is that traditionally in technology, we have always been like, oh, here's the new shiny thing. How do we use it in our business? And it's been that I've been in tech for over 30 years. It's been that way forever. It's backwards because then you're forced, and Microsoft really pushed this home. You're forced to use that tool the way that tool wants you to use it. When you do your analysis on your business and you really take a look at how you work, you take a look at your workflows, you take a look at your customers or your clients, you take into account all of your policies, that's when you take that information and find the tool that works inside of your business. So there's a big difference, and it's a complete mind shift. And I don't think too many people talk about it, but because we waste a lot of money when we do it the other way.
I
Scott
have a
says,
question. Oops, I was going to say I have a question, a quick question.
sure,
You,
Adrian.
you mentioned starting a new thread when you're working on something to save your credits. So
Mhm.
if you close out a thread, but you go back into it later, does that still hold if you're in
Yep,
that
it
same
still
thread
holds.
regardless? Okay.
Yep, it does the same thing. What you can do, a couple of things you can do. You can either copy that entire thread and then paste it in as a document to a fresh thread, or you can
Mm-hmm.
ask, and I do this with Manus all the time, and that's how I'm able to keep my usage low. I'll ask Manus to take this entire thread and put it in a zip file. And I'll tell it that I want the zip file because I'm going to use it to further the conversation in a fresh chat. So you can either copy and paste it, or you can zip it and then start a new chat, and you will, and that way it's not reading through that entire thread. It's just reading what it thinks is a document or one zip file.
Okay.
Yes. Scott says government contracts are the most guilty of that. Yes, they are. And Becky, you start with the strategy, goals, and plan, then the ID, the tool to do what you need. Absolutely. That is it. Over on Facebook, hello there, Vibrania. How are you? All right, I'm going to whiz through this one because I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Michelle, you had a question?
Hey, so I was just going to make a comment about those companies that are bundling the AI tools. A lot of those are, I consider it to be a smash and grab. They know that
Okay.
the rates are going to go up. They're not going to be able to keep offering those flat rates anymore. So if you want to use them and take advantage of them for right now, just that's great, but just be aware that it's very likely that these companies are going to go out of business. They're going to just one day shut down all support. A lot of them are spun up out of India very quickly
Yes.
to take advantage of these things. I get 400 emails a day from a couple of these guys. So just keep that in mind if you decide to use them.
Oh, are you
And
talking
also,
about like, oh, sorry. Are you talking about the smaller ones?
Yeah, a lot of those smaller ones that are marketing, you can get OpenAI and Claude and Perplexity and this one and that one all
all
in
at the same time.
the
Oh,
that's a smash and grab. Most of those folks are not going to be able to keep those businesses up. And a lot of them, especially the smaller ones, unfortunately, this is all they do is just churn out stuff like this constantly and get $97 flat fee or, $17 a month, and then they disappear.
and the
Oh,
thing is that you have to be wary of is that once that happens, you also lose all of your history with them. Any history that you've been using, you lose your history. You
Yeah.
lose your chats, you lose your documents. Whatever you've been working on, you lose it. So, yeah, Scott, you're absolutely right. Great points, Michelle. Thank you. I have to move to our next topic. Olivia, did you have one more question before we move on? Or are you good? Okay. I was reading your lips. I can't hear you, but I was reading your lips. Does anyone use Gamma? All the time I use Gamma.
okay.
Do a
I
lot
do
of
too.
presentations.
I do.
Okay. I do too. Yeah, I was just thinking about that when we were talking about the different merging and things like that, and just was
Mhm.
curious to see how widespread people were using Gamma to see if maybe that will
Oh, it's
survive.
very widespread.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Yeah. So here's something I never expected to say in this forum, but the Pope, yes, the pontiff, has written formally, he's weighed in formally about artificial intelligence. Now, what did the Pope and AI have to do? This is a very hip Pope, though. He's kind of he's on the cutting edge of stuff. He's very well versed in what's happening in the world outside the Holy See. So, what he said is more interesting sometimes, I think, than what actually comes out of the tech industry. So, I think it was yesterday. No, that was a different article. I'm sorry. So, Pope Leo XIV argued that AI must be, in his words, disarmed. He didn't say banned. He did not say it should be feared. He was clear. He's not against technology. But his point was that AI cannot be allowed to dominate the people that it's supposed to serve. That sounds interesting. He drew a hard line on autonomy. He said autonomy is not acceptable to hand decisions to a machine with no human in the loop. Do we talk about humans in the loop? All the time. Machines should never make final decisions. So I want you to sit with that for a second. Because letting systems and decide with nobody checking the work is what we're talking about. Which goes back to the conversation we just had about spy cars. It goes back to the conversation we were just having about all of the AI tools coming together and being consolidated. So he's really not far off. But he also made a point that I have been making for years, and that is that the data that powers these tools was created by millions of people. And his argument is that it should be treated as a shared resource and not hoarded by a few private companies.
Right.
Ooh. So whether or not that's going to happen and how that's going to play out this is like masterpiece theater right here. But it really should make you think long and hard about what data, whose data, et cetera, that you are feeding into what system, where is it going to reside, how is it being used, why is it there? And he also said that real communication should happen between real people, and I had to sit up at this one, and that the fact that faces and voices are not things to be perfectly faked. We should not be creating deep fakes even of ourselves. So you guys know, I really don't do religion. I may do spirituality, but I don't do religion or politics on the show if I can help it. So I'm gonna put this where it belongs and what we always talk about. It's your business. So let's strip away who said what. And basically what you're left with, and if you take a look, if you read what he said, what you're left with is the construct for a really good governance checklist for using artificial intelligence in your business. How's that for being interesting? Yeah. So if you get a chance, Google it. Just Google the Pope and artificial intelligence. It'll be the first thing that pops up. And you can read, the notes are out from the Vatican. You can read exactly what he said. And like I said, it's a good start for a governance policy. In fact, I might bring that into tomorrow's mind meld. No, Allison, he's not saying anything exactly. He's not being so cut and dried about not creating avatars of yourselves, but he's saying exact fakes. And he used that word very specifically, exact fakes. He used that phrase that we should not be making exact fakes. We should not really even be creating fakes. So all of these people who are creating these artificial intelligence influencers, he's not too happy about that. Not too crazy about that. Any thoughts on the Pope's, if anybody's had a chance to take a look at it, any thoughts on the Pope's stance on artificial intelligence?
I could certainly understand why he would have that position with the artificial fakes.
Yeah. Michelle says some of this is on cloaked response to political AI imagery that has recently been released. Yeah, I think so. I remember when we first got started with artificial intelligence en masse. Remember that picture of the Pope in that white bubble coat that was being passed all over the internet? You know, that was like almost 4 years ago. Almost 4 years ago. Becky says, Pope, lots of good points. And what I would say, those been around and understanding AI have been saying all along. Yeah, those of us who have been around the block a couple of times it's been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and we're just sitting back to see what's happening next. Let's see, Tanya and Michelle, you guys have your hands up. Okay.
Yes, hello. So it's Tanya. I brought this up last week about what he said, and I was really grateful for his spiritual stance on how this is going down. And as I mentioned last week, that part about the enslavement, he started out the whole talk with his really apologizing for the enslavement times and the Catholic Church's role. And so I think when he did that and used that same enslavement word with the AI, I know he was very poignant in doing so, because he used the enslavement word at the beginning in an apology, and then the enslavement word again with our mind. So I was so proud and really grateful that he brought that up to just remind us we are in the control of our minds and do not lose ourselves to the machines. And I also loved how he did touch on it, that it is of the past. It is not of the future. We are the ones who are creating what it does. And so I just really appreciate the human side and the humanness that he brought in. And again, he, going to the bistrology, he really tapped into his Virgo self, because Virgos are of service and of high service. And so his whole stance and he is really in alignment with his stars. And I'm really grateful to have someone in his position and what he does. Again, I'm not religious either, but to speak on a level that people are understanding, because I know Christianity is going up. And the reason Christianity, just real quick, is going up is because there was the witchcraft a couple of years ago. So to balance out, now we've got the Christianity going up. And so him saying what he's saying, again, I'm just grateful he said it, and someone coming from someone who has such a great aptitude of speaking. So thank you for that. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Give me 1 second, Michelle. I'm going to come back to you. But over on the Facebook side, we're seeing artificial fakes, Michael Jackson, Dr. MLK, Kanye West, etc. Yes. What's data was trained on a problem, because if that is a trade secret, then you trained in bias. And as an example, the Workday class action lawsuit. Yeah. We could do a whole hour on the Workday class action lawsuit. Selena, these companies also have public funds to start an SBIR, the DoD, NSF, etc. It really is public data. Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. And I'm going to go to Michelle. You've got your question, and then we're going to move into our last section, the last 2 sections, which are the June classes that we have, the June education, and we're going to talk about OpenClaw and Hermes. Michelle, what's up?
I just wanted to say about what the Pope said. I think what's more interesting is the response from the various tech AI leader people like Peter Thiel and so forth. One of the original co-founders of OpenAI actually responded to the Pope and agreed with what he said, basically. Whereas Peter, for example, called the Pope in league with the Antichrist, apparently. So I think that it tells us something about the character of the people who are involved at that level, and why we need to be cautious as we're moving forward with this, because they do have their own particular agenda.
Absolutely.
And I think that we need to not, obviously, if you're not religious, it doesn't matter from that perspective. But I do think, like you said, Dr. Kim, that it does give some decent guidelines for thinking about how to move forward with. Like I used to tell my kids, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it.
No, ma'am. You can just walk on by. But thank you for that, Michelle. Much appreciated. Okay, so we have almost 15 minutes left. So I'm going to run through this very quickly, and then I'm going to go, and then I'm going to read Scott's comment, and then I am going to go into OpenClaw and Hermes. So tonight, obviously, the AI Clinic, we get together on the 1st and 3rd Tuesday of every month to talk about what's happening in artificial intelligence and how it affects your business. That is our modus operandi. How does it affect your business? And sometimes we get into how does it affect you in your actual life. Tomorrow night is the first night of MindMeld 2.0. It's the first Wednesday of the month. So my MindMeld folks, I will see you tomorrow. We have a lot to talk about, and we have a lot to do. We have a new theme for the month, and if you'd like to join us, pop a note into the chat if you want to find out more about joining MindMeld, and I will pop a link over and get that for you. On June 9th, and this is the class that I promised you guys I was going to bring you. On June 9th, I am teaching a deep dive into OpenClaw for non-techies. And I told you I was not bringing you an OpenClaw class until I found a way to safely deploy it. And I have found a way to safely deploy it without you having to purchase another laptop, another, what was it, the Apple devices and all the other stuff. Basically, you don't have to spend a few hundred up to $1,000 to deploy it. So that's on June 9th. The registration link for that will be up and available in the morning. June 13th, thank you, Becky, the Mac Mini. June 13th is the Send in the Clones. Even though I just did a cloning class, we just talked about the Pope and Pope talking about clones. I just did a cloning class last month. There have been some recent developments in cloning already since then. So I am redoing that class. I'm actually going to make it larger. If you took the last clone class, if you were registered for the last clone class, you will get this one for free because it's basically an add-on to the class. So yeah, it doesn't make sense for you to pay for it twice. June 16th is the next AI clinic. June 17th, we are launching our courseware services because I have probably written in the past 3 years, I have probably written about 300 classes, 300 courses. And the courseware still exists. Some of the courseware, some of the topics are evergreen and some of them have been expired. So the ones that are evergreen, I'm going to make it possible for you to purchase the courseware from me if you want to deliver your own courses. So it comes with the courseware, the instructor guide, the workbooks, and all of that stuff. Again, all of this information goes up in the group and in the email tomorrow. And then June 23rd, I'm teaching a course creation and launch system. So how do I create courses in record time? I can create a 5-hour course in about 2 hours because I have a system. I have a system. All right. So Michelle wants to know, is anyone else vibe coding? Actually, yeah, I have a lot of us are vibe coding in here. And I'm just looking at the participant list right now. Out of the 30 people who are on, I can see at least 10 that I know specifically are vibe coding. And let's see, I said I was going to read Scott. So there's a passage in the book of Revelation that talks about an end times leader giving power to an image that it would both speak and cause many to follow after it. Yep. Interesting times we live in. Becky, I will tell you about MindMeld towards the end because I really want to get to what I'm about to talk about right now, and that is OpenClaw and Hermes. So tell me, give me a 1 in the chat if you've never heard of Hermes or Hermes or Hermes, depending on how you pronounce it. Okay. Give me a 2 in the chat if you've never heard of OpenClaw. Yeah, Becky, and I grew up speaking French, so I naturally default to the French pronunciation of it, but I hear it pronounced in so many different ways. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot, heard of it, don't know what they are, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so let's talk about what they are. So a lot of you guys have been sending me these 2 names, asking me what are they, what do they do? So basically, they are both AI agents. When you break it all the way down to its lowest common denominator and make it as simple as possible, they're both AI agents. Kim, what the heck is an AI agent? Think about ChatGPT when it first came out. ChatGPT is a chat bot. Claude, when it first came out, was a chat bot. It is reactive. It just sits there. You type, it gives you answers. You type some more, it gives you more answers. It can't go out and actually do anything except give you answers. Make sense so far? Okay. An agent is different. So when Manus came on the scene, Manus can actually go out and do the things. So if you say, okay, write an email, compose an email, Manus can compose the email and then can send the email. And Manus was engineered that way from the start. So that's an agent. So agent has basically eyes and hands. An agent can browse the web for you. And obviously ChatGPT and Claude can now do these things on their own in a limited fashion. But an agent can go browse the web. It can read and write files on your computer. It can send messages for you. It can look into your bank account if you give it the permission. And it can reconcile your checkbook at the end of the month. I said checkbook. Does anybody write checks anymore? Anyway, an agent can go and actually do the thing. A chatbot cannot. It can check your calendar. It doesn't discuss the task. It doesn't just give you text back. It performs the task. So OpenClaw and Hermes are both that. They're not chatbots. They are programmable digital workers. And a lot of that people have been building their entire, like their AI employees. They're great for building AI employees because they really can go do the thing. Where Claude has some limitations with its agent is that when you turn off your laptop or when your laptop goes into sleep mode, Claude stops working. Not Claude Code, but Claude and Claude Cowork. We're not talking about code yet because that's a whole different animal. So OpenClaw, what was I saying? Oh yeah, they're programmable workers. They basically live on a machine that you control and they act on your behalf. They go out and they do things on your behalf. They'll go out and do research on your behalf and they'll write reports and they'll do what basically you tell it what to do and it does it, as long as it has something to do with data. So OpenClaw was the one that went viral. It was the one that we were telling all the jokes about because it started out as ClaudeBot and then it became MoltBot. It started out as ClaudeBot and then Anthropic threatened to sue them and they got into a whole tit for tat and went back and forth. Then it became MoltBot and then it now is OpenClaw. And it was built by a developer and basically the developer, the guy who built it, it grew so fast that OpenAI hired the guy who developed it. So he's working over at OpenAI, but he still has ClaudeBot. OpenClaw, I'm sorry. Original name. Okay, so that's what OpenClaw is right now. So why does that even matter to you as a business owner? It runs on your machine or your server. And yes, you can have servers for pennies on the dollar. So your data doesn't have to live on your machine, or it can live on somebody else's cloud. And it also uses the channels that you already use. So if you want to talk to this thing in WhatsApp, you want to send it a WhatsApp text, it'll read the text and it'll go do what it is that you want it to do. Telegram, Slack, Discord, iMessage, Teams, whole long list of stuff. And it also ships already with over 100 skills, and you guys know what skills are. It ships with over 100 skills that are already configured. All you have to do is connect your information to it. So if you're looking for the ultimate AI employee creator, that's pretty much it. It's AI model agnostic, so you can use Claude's API key, you can use it at ChatGPT, you can use, I think, Gemini. You got to be careful with Claude because they will shut you down if they think that you're using the third party in the wrong way. So the problem with OpenClaw is that it has really rough edges and it had some significant security issues. So significant, and I think it was a woman at Apple. She was running OpenClaw on a Mac Mini and it started deleting her emails. You guys heard this story. I know a bunch of you heard it.
Yeah.
It started deleting her emails like hundreds at a time. And she had to literally disconnect. She literally had to disconnect this thing from the internet to get it to stop. And later on, when she queried it, she said, basically, you know, you did something wrong. And it was like, yeah, I know I did something wrong. I just felt like doing it anyway. Be careful. So that's OpenClaw. Hermes is the agent that was created. I'm looking at the comments in the chat right now. That's funny. So Hermes agent came out a little bit later, came out in February of this year. And it came out, basically the developers wanted to fix all of the things that frustrated people about OpenClaw. The big thing about Hermes is that it remembers and it learns. when it performs an action and it performs it well, it creates an like an internal SOP, and it remembers that thing. OpenClaw does not remember. It does not learn. Hermes does. And the thing about Hermes is that it can run on a $5 a month server. So no Mac Mini needed. Installation, it's one line of code, and it connects to all of the same communications avenues as OpenClaw, Telegram, WhatsApp, Slack, etc. So while OpenClaw was the first one, it became the very popular one. Hermes is like the more refined. No, Dr. Virgie, Claude Code does not remember as well as Hermes. Does not. Okay, what does this all mean to us as business owners? How can this help us? So basically, again, AI employees, and I'm not talking about just an AI employee that can wake up and in the morning check your email for you and then triage what needs to be answered right now, what is junk mail, and what needs to be responded to. I'm talking about deep analysis kind of AI employees. But in order to have that level of AI employee, what do you need? You need your processes. You need your workflows. You need the information about your business. Kim E just said, Hal, next level. Yeah, I'm thinking Tony Stark and some other folks, you really could build it into between that and the new Alexa. And I shouldn't say that too loud because I got one sitting here. So think about your inbox and your client messages. It can triage your messages overnight. It can draft replies in your voice. And it can just show you only the messages that really need the real you. What about your pipeline, your sales pipeline? What about that proposal that went out that nobody's chased down? What about the proposal that needs to go out that you forgot to send? Discovery calls that go quiet, the past client who would buy again if you would reach out to them. Again, getting your business processes in order, your SOPs. That's the only way that these things work really well. Taking, for instance, this broadcast, and I would feed it this broadcast, and actually this is something that I've done, feed it this broadcast, and it chops it up into all of the content that I needed to be chopped up into, whether it's video or, gotta have an add-on, another app, but whether it's video or whether it's text. So if you're thinking about really advanced AI employees, if you're thinking about taking your business and truly becoming the invisible CEO that we talk about sometimes, where your business doesn't need you to be there babysitting it 24/7, these are two tools that you are going to want to investigate. So again, the OpenClaw class is going to be on the 9th, and I am going to take a look at my calendar and see if I can squeeze in an Hermes class either late this month or very early next month. So I've got some questions and some comments in here. Let's see. Does Claude Code answered that one? Does Claude Code remember? Michelle says that's why I've avoided implementing agents. Yeah, you can't give it carte blanche to everything, not yet. And then the other thing that we talked about, we talked about it, and I think our last one, that you can now access your financial information, your financial services information inside of ChatGPT through Plaid. Have we not been saying the entire time that no, we should not be putting our personal information into ChatGPT? And now ChatGPT now has access to 12,000 different financial institutions around the world. Olivia says, yeah, like Claude is the gentleman and Manus is the gangster. That's true. That's very true. Terry says, here we go, giving up all your information. Michelle says, the issue is AI knows how to deceive us. That's been proven in testing. Yes, ma'am. And it's been proven to murder other versions if it thinks it will be shut down. That's why it's dangerous to just implement this stuff without knowing what you're getting into. Michelle, you are 1000% correct. And that's why it's taken me so long to even bring this type of class to our community. Becky, because of my recent health emergency, I want to automate more. So I was planning to use Claude for AI agents, employees. What do you think? I think that's a good place to start. And Becky, from the conversations that you and I have had, I know that you've got many of, if not all, of your SOPs and your processes. You've got those together. So as long as you have that and you're just vigilant about what you give it access to, I think you'll do well with Claude for AI, for agents and AI employees. Lenora says, Hermes is my planner and director. OpenClaw is my employee. Oh, I like that. Yes. Lorna quotes Hal frequently. Katrina, what's the best way to document your SOPs so that they will work with these tools? Ah, that's a really good question. Katrina, I have a custom GPT that I wrote that puts them in a really good format that can be used. Email me after we're done and let me unearth it first and I will give you access to it. Adrian says murder. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Let me go check what we've got going on over on the Facebook side. DeGundria says absolutely not using chat and plaid. Absolutely. If an agent is deleting emails, heck no. Yeah, if an agent's deleting emails, what in the world else could it be deleting? DeGundria also says it's OpenClaw because OpenAI wanted the tech instead of suing. They brought him on board. Ah, that does make sense. That does make sense. We actually got through all of the topics for this evening. We're just over an hour. Becky says building SOPs. That went quick. Love your custom GPT as well as telling AI what SOP I want to do and have it ask me questions I can build it. Good approach. That's exactly it. In fact, that's what this custom GP does. It asks you questions and then it creates the SOP for you. Terry, okay, makes you think of what would happen if you had all these agents set up and running a little OpenClaw, Hermes, Claude SMB, Eek. What happens when they all do upgrades, new version releases? You know what? Having been in technology for so long, I used to fear the upgrades. I no longer fear upgrades because at this point, you can't really break too much anymore. And if you do break it, it's one or two prompts away from fixing it. Michelle says there was an SOP tool developed by someone who participated in the Replit Agent 4 build-a-thon with me. I'll look for the link and share it in the FB group. Thank you so much. Lenora, I believe our computers will be the one big agent with a trillion skills. We speak, it delivers. Oh, we already have that. Oh, yeah. We already have that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was tonight's AI clinic. I know I did not do an actual training, but we had to get into some other things I think that were very important and very timely for what's happening now. We talked about cars that are learning to read your face, a company about to be worth $1 trillion. It's going to do an IPO. The Pope drawing the same governance kind of lines that I've been drawing for 2 years. 2 agents that can finally do the work that we needed to do, but are they safe enough to actually do them? Give me a second. I am going to grab a link for MindMeld. And for those of you who were asking, MindMeld is our community for established business owners who are looking to go deeper than just prompts and just a couple of tools. We do distribute prompts, but we talk about strategy. We talk about the actual business strategy, the actual business behind what are we using? Why are we using this? We give structure, we give workflows, lots of workflows. So it's a much more structured program. And I've got the link. I'll put this in the chat on both sides. Take a look at the landing page. And I will probably follow up with you guys later this week. Give me a second to put this over in Facebook. And DeGundria, I have to go and actually look for it. I have to go. It's on ChatGPT, obviously, but I've got to go look for the link. So I will get that and I'll post the link in the Facebook group and I'll also email it out to everyone. So the one thread through all of everything from tonight was control. Control, think about what Janet Jackson said, control of what I say, control of what I do, control of my data. We got to know what people are using, what they are deciding, and keep a human on final decisions, and build your systems, build your businesses before you buy the tool. So thank you so much for being here, everyone. Time is the one thing you cannot get back, and I am truly honored that you chose to spend the past hour and a few minutes with me. And I will see my Mind Meld people tomorrow night, and I will see the rest of you guys online or in our next AI clinic. Thank you so much, and have a great night.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.